There's been furries causing issues.
Do I need to tell them of the furry story?
What?
There's a furry story?
Oh, you haven't heard?
Are you talking about the...
I will say it only
we have
once.
lots of furry stories.
You need to have a name.
Robert, you know of what I do, yes?
You might answer, but you
Believe me, the darkness that I have walked down as a dungeon master
I swear to God, if that
will wild your mind
Oh.
and ripple your soul.
Oh, yeah?
Your friendship's all I need.
If you and all of your friends wish for a story, I will only ever tell it once. But I promise you, you will never be the same.
Go to the
Very
stage.
well.
I'll put on some...
Gather them up.
I'll put on some music.
There is a little bit of backstory that you have to know before we can go into the story, else many of the references won't make sense. Please, if you have VR, raise your hand if you know what Dungeons & Dragons is.
Yes.
Those of you that do not know what Dungeons & Dragons is, and yet do not possess VR, please look up at this time and I see how many people I have to tell. Good. Look at that. A room full of no one that is a fucking loser. Good. Let's go ahead and get straight to it then. In my early career as a professional dungeon master, I had to take on all sorts of jobs in order to make ends meet. Lots and lots of different things I had to do. But eventually, I was able to make enough of a name for myself within the certain websites that I used that I was, in the most minor sense, a celebrity there. It just so happened that there was one group of people that constantly could never find a group to play. So, I found one of their threads, and it was a group full of furries. There was 8 of them, I believe, and they were all looking for a dungeon master to play. So being the fellow that I am, I offered to run for them, and I even figuratively bent over backwards to help them and make sure all their characters made sense, and then we entered the first session. And that's where everything went downhill. Within the first 5 minutes and 32 seconds, I remember that very specifically, that was as long as I had for them to introduce what their characters looked like. And then they proceeded for the next 3.5 hours to erotic roleplay with each other in voice chat that I had to sit through because I was being paid. So, a couple of things I had to figure out that session that I never had to figure out before. The viscosity of various kinds of semen. The anal circumference of various animals and humans as well averaged out so that they would know what to do. How long one's sexual stamina could last in order to maintain the various levels of fantastical appropriation that they wanted to maintain. I had to deal with how much blood would it take to fill a triple shark penis for various lengths of time. And then finally, after 3.5 hours of what I have to say is some of the most horrible acts of voyeurism that I think anyone has ever went through, they thanked me for my time, and I was paid. That was session 1. The second session was something else entirely. They finally moved on with the story, and they arrived to a town. They approached the town. It was simple. The town guard talks to them and asks them to go inside. Very easy. I unfortunately made the mistake of using the character's token, which is what they look like, to be that of Nicolas Cage, which they all proceeded to go absolutely batshit crazy over for some reason because he hasn't been relevant since 2005. But anyway, they proceeded to argue with one another to try and figure out what is the best way in which to enter this man, both physically, mentally, and spiritually, which you can do so in D&D. It's very easy. I had to answer all sorts of things during this time. I had to answer at what temperature a corpse could maintain viscosity in order for pleasure. I had to go through all sorts of different types of RP situations, such as a giraffe furry who had a voyeurism fetish, who specifically would ask me to describe to him in innate and in very precise detail.
Brawley, I appreciate it,
finally,
man. Love you, man.
After all this happened,
thank you so much.
They proceeded to use a stack of mushrooms using their training to basically make a line of sexual stimulating cocaine and fucked this man to death. And that was the end of the second session. Unfortunately for them, and I'm not quite sure what for me, we never had a third session because of scheduling issues. That was perhaps the hardest $100 I've ever made in my entire life.
Per session or just...
The end.
$100?
Oh, total.
Oh, wow.
Total.
The bottom line is...
questions?
Fuck furries, alright?
What is the policy in canceling payment and like not working for them? Does that affect your website cred?
Yes, did you ever end up getting inside that man?
What was that?
What the heck?
Your mic.
Like, does it look poorly on you to like refuse working for those fucking weirdos?
Well, you see, the thing is, part of my mantra is I believe everyone should play. I do not judge people when I do my job, because my job is to unlock a fantastical realm where they can be anything that they want. And I would be quite the hypocrite if I were to look upon them and tell them that because of the persona they chose to adopt, that they were somehow less of a person.
I disagree.
I think that's something that all of us here...
I think furries are less of people.
Are DMs able to specify like things they refuse to work with, like erotic roleplay and all these other things, or do you have to go into it no matter what?
You do realize, Robert, that your entire persona is based off of a furry, yes?
Scaly.
He's a scaly.
So you know the specific term.
Oh
Your
yeah.
normal one?
Then you are aware that that is a subgenre.
Oh, it's not a sub. That's like saying a fucking thrash metal is a subgenre of techno.
Do you have something in your...
We're a different thing.
Do you have something in your avatar
I see.
that you uploaded?
Do you think you're less of a person?
Yes.
I am. I'm a
Yeah,
robot.
what's that?
Don't talk about my friend that way. Bring it in. Get up here. You are an actual person.
He, by the way, let the record show that this man hooked me up with the Kumi. He really did.
Yes, 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 I am the weaver of love and all things positive. Why must you say that? Every time.
Because it's a good thing you've done.
Yes, don't tell too many people. You'll ruin my street cred.
No.
Speaking of which... that's better.
He's the reason I've become the wingmaner I am.